After years of sales, the BMW M4 feels like a mainstay in the world of performance cars. However, if you go back to 2014, when the populace was unhappy, the BMW M3, which serves as the baseline for all sports saloons and coupes in the automotive industry, was limited to just saloon cars. In keeping with the new BMW 4 Series lineup, the two-door M3 was dubbed M4, partly obscuring its origins, which trace back to the formidable E30 M3 homologation special. Make sure to like and subscribe if you love cars. That being said, we're going to get into our first reasons why you shouldn't buy a BMW M4, which is driving. Even with its modern improvements, the M4 chassis nevertheless exudes a palpable evil when the roads aren't completely dry. After 6 years, and in light of certain background, this malevolence have actually grown to be rather thrilling. Particularly when compared to rivals such as brash and prickly as an Audi RS5, this is a car that performs best when you give it your whole attention and your greatest level of dedication. If you take your time pressing the throttle and avoid overlapping your steering and acceleration, it will get you to where you're going smoothly. However, if you can figure it out and get more self-assurance, it's a very captivating companion. As handling is the M4's first priority, the suspension is firmer than in a typical sedan. This indicates that it's firmly planted on the road and corners extremely well. The drawback is that in comparison to a softer suspension, you will experience more bumps and faults in the road. Consider the car's performance-oriented design. Some individuals find the hard ride tolerable. They may even relish the sensation of having a stronger connection to the road. Some may find it excessively abrasive for regular commutes, particularly on uneven surfaces. In general, a firmer ride will result from larger wheels and tires with a lower profile. Purchasing the most expensive one available is the trick, which is rather inevitable. The competition easily justifies its £3,000 price increase over a basic M4 since it's a much more attractive vehicle. In addition to new springs, dampers, and anti-roll bars, you also get an additional 20 horsepower, and the adaptive suspension driving settings have been adjusted. Moreover, the rear differential settings have been adjusted, so the M3 now merely hooks up and drives as you speed out of the turn, rather than attempting to splay literally. It has a far reduced fear factor in addition to being quicker and more interesting. Next, we're going to talk about handling. The completely redesigned BMW M3 and its coupe sibling, the M4, promised an interesting new feature when they were released in 2021. X-Drive all-wheel drive was added to the vehicle, which had previously only been rear drive since the model's 1986 launch. The 2022 M3 and M4 competition MX Drive are the realization of that promise. It adds grip to a track car that is ready for the road without compromising its ability to flip the tail out of a confined course. The driver of the M4 tester was primarily aware that the rear bias X-Drive system was functioning since it prevented the tires from melting during a forceful takeoff. With the P285 30R20 rear tires and the P275 35R19 front tires, this vehicle has an incredible amount of grip. The small windup that occurs during a full lock, slow speed turn is the only indicator. You go to a non-issue. More grace is brought when the 503 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque of the 3.0-liter twin-turbo inline-6 are distributed to all four wheels, whether the road is wet and slick or the M4 is being driven to its extreme limits. You can only choose an 8-speed automatic gearbox if you want X-Drive. Next, let's talk about the drive modes. Of course, whichever driving mode is chosen, all that magnificent power still comes through. To put it simply, these modes are nasty, extra mean, and manic. As you increase the level, the urgency merely gets better. The combination entered for the M1 button worked in the fun mode. You can do the sport mode for the exhaust set for maximum bass, engine, chassis, steering, and brake pedal feel. When the second port is open, the electronically controlled flaps produce a deeper audio. When the M1 button is pressed once more, the vehicle enters the plain mean city mode, which combines comfort for all of the components and a more subdued exhaust tone with engine efficiency. The hairy settings are stored by pressing the M2 button. In this instance, the suspension, steering, and brakes were in Sport, while the engine was on Sport Plus. Another noteworthy modification is the electronic stability control when it has been disabled and only the rear wheels are now powered by the X-Drive. These settings are so drastic that you have to press the M2 button twice to be sure you really want to let it go. The active driving validates all the technological information. With virtually little understeer or body roll while in M1 mode, the M4 immediately pointed into a corner, and with X-Drive and all-wheel drive mode, it crouched down with very little tail and twitch. There's more to the M2 rear drive mode than just a twitch of the tail. It might be, well, pucker-inducing if the driver miscalculates what occurs when the gas is goose late in a corner. But that's all it is. Fortunately, not too bad. Next, we're going to talk about the interior. The M4 is all business for the driver. The format comes together very nicely, from the bold bolstering in all the right places and meaty steering wheel to the body-hugging front seats and logical cockpit layout with clean, concise instrumentation that changes depending on the mode selected and an easy-to-use infotainment system. One of the cool features is that turn-by-turn directions show up in the optional head-up display when utilizing wireless Apple CarPlay, and a destination is plugged into Apple Maps. Steering through the windscreen while following the route makes more sense than staring down at the central screen. The brown Tartufo merino leather, which is worth $2,500, was another noteworthy addition. It exudes quality and goes beautifully with the Isle of Man green livery. Although the premium package costs $6,300, it comes with a number of useful features, including the M-Drive Professional in addition to the head-up display. It has a M-Drip analyzer and an M-Traction control, which enables the stability control system's intervention point to be changed via 10 phases. In essence, it gauges how free-spirited the driver can be. The drive recorder is the other benefit. It has the capacity to capture and save for later use up to 40 seconds of video of the area around the car. Consider it as an integrated dash cam. The added benefit is that in the event of a disaster, it will activate automatically. Since there is not much legroom when the front seats are pushed back more than halfway, the two-person back seat is really more suited for a briefcase or a pocketbook rather than for people. Even though the front seats power forward make the access easier, getting back there still requires some agility, as we discovered when we had to go back there to take the interior photographs. A practical 440-liter trunk with split folding seats is located behind that. Now let's talk about specs, because depending on the M4 specification, the 3.0-liter straight-six engine produces different amounts of power. The base car's 424 horsepower is increased to 444 horsepower with the competition package. 454 horsepower is produced by the hardcore CS, and 493 horsepower is produced by an even harder cored, ultra-rare M4 GTS, which costs 120,000 pounds, and has 2 seats and a roll cage. But there is much more to the four of them than just the minor engine adjustments. The base M4 was known for being a spiky, often cruel little bugger, throwing in its turbocharged torque at the back axle with far less tact than any M3 ever did. This was especially true in the early years of the car's existence. Maybe we were right to be curt when the car was rebadged. It had lost its shine. The car score used to vary based on how many times it attempted to disfigure you while you were driving it to work. Right now, this is just a fantastic performance vehicle that listens to its driver and sings mainly. And, well, we do love a little aggression, particularly when some of the M4's main competitors confuse real-world enjoyment with on-paper numbers and believe that slinging a ton of unstoppable speed and unbreakable traction as something will propel it to the top of its class. It's not perfect. The M4 is never boring. Crucially, although being very different from the M3s that came before it, it is just as memorable. Each M4 is equipped with a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster and a sleek infotainment system with a big 14.9-inch touchscreen. However, BMW's new iDrive 8.5 operating system will debut in 2025. It has enhanced climate control along with graphics and content tailored specifically for M users. By using voice instructions, buttons on the steering wheel, a sizable rotary controller, and buttons on the center console, among other control choices, the user can change settings and explore menus. The M4 system includes a Harman Kardon audio system, Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay as standard features. For those who desire even more sophisticated features, there are well-liked solutions like wireless charging pads, subscription-based Wi-Fi hotspots, and gesture controls. The M4 is not cheap, let's face it. Options have the potential to quickly raise the base price, which in of itself is already expensive. The maintenance is the true pain though. Performance items might be expensive to maintain and wear out more quickly. Therefore, you might have to put off buying your ideal car if money is tight. This design represents a significant change from earlier M4s. While some people think the new, bold style is excessively aggressive or even ugly, others adore it. The big grille, according to critics, is at odds with the car's overall smoother style. But if you're from India, then these 10 cheap cars will make you look rich in India. So be sure to check out that video right now.